Hello, you guys. I hope you're doing well. This is Lise Perez coming to you live. I'm your master embodiment coach and author. I hope you guys are having a beautiful, beautiful day. What I'm talking to you guys about, because I've had a lot of requests about this, is becoming an author, right? Because I know that it's, so important. It's a dream for a lot of people. It's a dream to become an author, and a lot of people tend to not make it a reality. It makes 100%, the statistic is actually 100% of people want to become an author and 1% actually go through with it and 1% actually do. So if you guys stay till the end of the video, I'm talking about a few things that might be that you guys, if your dream is to become an author, to become a published author, have your book in your hands, I came up with a few pieces that you might be missing in order to bridge the gap from the dream of becoming an author to it actually happening. So stay tuned till the end, and if you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the little ding, and so you can receive my notifications, or not the ding, the bell, so you can receive my notifications of when I go live next. So the first one, guys, is letting go of the BS stories. And I know this tends to be the, it tends to be the norm. Like it tends to be easier said than done, of course. But, a little tiny backstory of me is that I'm a 3-time published author in less than 7 months. And my first published memoir, The Girl Behind the Mask, was published in November 2019, and the second one, which is a compilation, so the last two, the second and third, is a compilation of my fellow co-authors, and the second book was published in June of 2020, and the third compilation is actually soon to be, the date's still determined. It's supposed to be summer of 2020, but the point with my memoir is that I had to let go a lot of BS stories, a lot of old stories that we kind of tell ourselves, right? That, that I'm not good enough. And, if this resonates with you, pop in the comments. But, I'm not good enough. My story's not good enough. I don't have time. What else is there? So many other people have so many great stories. Well, I've only spoken about becoming an author, but I don't really want to become an author, or it was just a talk. But in reality, and here's the thing, in reality, you have the dream. If you've said it once that you're like, I've dreamt about becoming an author, or a published memoir, like a published having a published book in your hands, and it doesn't matter what type of book, right? It could be a micro novel, it could be a micro book, it could be a poetry book, it could be a recipe book, it could be an ebook, whatever it is. If you've had the dream for a while, for a long time, for years, it's your old BS stories that are telling you that maybe there's millions of other, recipe books out there. And so what makes you different, right? What makes you different in order to create this book that you wanted to create, that you're dying to create, right? You could be unique in your story, and all of us are, right? We're unique, we're different. We have different beliefs, our stories are always different. You could create the most amazing recipe book, but then your BS story, your old story is going to tell you, you know what? There's tons of others recipe books out there, so does the world really need another one? And that's the stories that I'm talking about, letting go, because we tell ourselves everything all the time. As I said, I'm not good enough, my story's not good enough, everybody else's stories are so out there and so amazing and so transformative, mine's not, right? Or I'm a great baker, but who knows if people want to see my baking recipes, or mine's just a micro book. I mean, do people really read micro books? Or so many other people do biographies. So many other people do memoirs. Who cares about my story? Who cares? Who would want to listen to my story? Who would want to read my story? Right? Those are all BS stories that we tell ourselves all the time. Every single time a dream comes into existence, every time we have a vision, we have a vision for the reality that we want to set upon our life, right? We have all that. But then these stories, the old stories, come into our lives every single time. Every single time. Doesn't matter what we do. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, the reality of it all is that, are you going to let your BS stories manipulate you into thinking, into believing, continuously believing that you're not good enough, or that your story doesn't matter? Or you're going to chase after your dream and make it a reality, take that massive action and make it a reality, right? So those are the type of things that we need to let go, especially when you have a dream of becoming an author. As I said, why do 1% of people only go through with having the book from start to finish? Why? So many people could write a book if they chose to. 100 people could write a book if they chose to. Everybody has a story within them. That's what makes us different. That's what makes us, you know, a beautiful treasure to encompass, because we all have a story within us, each and every one of us. And so all of us could write a book if we wanted to, even if it's as I said, a micro book, an ebook, doesn't matter. All of us have a book in us, right? All of us go through chapters, all of us go through journeys, all of us go through experiences. But why do 1% of people only go through with it? Out of 100, right? Out of 100% of people, only 1%. So that means 99% of people do not go through with writing their book, even though they have a dream. Why? One of the main reasons is because they're so wrapped up in their old story, their lack of belief in themselves, and we're going to talk about belief in a little bit, but they're so wrapped up in their old story that they just can't seem to let it go. And they stay stagnant in those chapters rather than write a complete, you know, a part 2 of our own experiences, right? They stay stagnant in the chapters, in the part 1, those old fragments of pieces of our life, our experiences that we tell ourselves, our old stories, because they're so wrapped up in them. We're so wrapped up that it keeps us stagnant, that you know, I get it, the BS stories keep us stagnant all the time, right? So many people want to be a coach, but most people never do. Or so many people want to be an entrepreneur, a business owner, but most people never do, because they're stuck in the stagnant story that is being told to them, or that they've embraced somewhere along the path of their experience, that keeps them stagnant, that keeps them stuck, that keeps them where they are instead of where they want to be, right? And so letting go is essentially the first step in becoming the author of your dreams, and becoming, in having that book in your hands. There's all the theory, there's all, you know, the publishing houses and the editors and the second and third editor, and all that is fine and dandy, right? But this is not the theory. This is the psychological mindset. This is the emotional fitness that we all have to go through, especially when we want to write a book, right? Or an anthology or a compilation, especially when you want to write a book. This is the first step in moving to the next level, right? Is letting go of the BS stories that no longer serve you, because they're not serving anyone, not even yourself, right? So, and in order to let those go, what do you got to do? Forgive. Accept the inevitable. There's so many different entities that you need, right? In order to move on to the next step of making your book a published masterpiece, because that's what it is. Any type of book that we write, whatever it is a masterpiece, because we created it. As soon as you start writing the introduction, as soon as you start writing the chapters, as soon as you start writing the foreword, as soon as you've done the pre-work, you're already an author. Right? Because you took the step, you took the big gigantic step in doing the thing. You took the big gigantic step on doing it. Right? And if you're there, I congratulate you, because that letting go of the BS stories is a huge step forward. It's one of the, that's why I put it as number one, right? It's one of the main steps that I had to go through in my own journey, is to let go of the BS stories that I told myself, or that were told to me, but I embodied. Next one is, of course, no fear or excuses. No fear or excuses. This is a big one too, right? Because one of the excuses that we tell ourselves, especially when we're procrastinators, is that we have no time. And it ties into letting go. It ties into the BS stories that we tell ourselves, right? We have no time. We, that you're not good enough, or that I can never finish a project to the full completion, so why would I finish one now? Or it's too hard, or it's too difficult, or it's, I don't know if I have the effort or the energy to go through the whole process. These are all the excuses that we tell ourselves, right? And because of those excuses, our fear surrounds us. Our fear encapsulates us to the point of no return. That's what keeps us stagnant, is the fear of like, oh gosh, like, I don't know if I can go through this. I don't know if people want to hear my story. I'm too scared to let these pieces of my story out. What if people judge me, right? That's another fear. That's another BS story that we tell ourselves, right? A fear of judgment. It's like, why would people want to read the story? And if they do, would they even care? Would they judge me for it? Would I lose friends over this? Would I lose family? Would I do that? Especially when it's a memoir or a biography, right? That was one of the fears that came to me when I published my memoir. Was the fear of judgment. That was a main component, because a lot of pieces to the puzzle, a lot of pieces to my book was a lot of it wasn't shared in public until it was published in my book. So I had a lot of fear about it. A lot of fears that I had to tackle, right? That's why you have to become an overcomer, right? Because you have to overcome all these struggles, all these trials, all these tribulations, all of these like the negative thoughts, right? Of it all, the negative thoughts that, as I said, of the judgment, of anything that you want, of your subconscious telling you that it's like, oh my gosh, these guys, these chapters, these experiences were released, were locked up. Why would you want to put them out, right? It's a fear of putting yourself out there, the fear of putting yourself in a vulnerable state, right? Especially when it comes to a memoir, because of the vulnerability, of the rawness and the realism, the authenticity that you put in your book, that you put in your published memoir or autobiography. And so what happens when you have a fear, you make an excuse. You make an excuse that it's like, oh gosh, I don't have time to do this. I don't know if I really want to do it. I don't know if I really want to become a published author. But it's not that you don't want to become a published author. You could be dreaming about it your whole life. You could be dreaming about it for years and years and years and years. But your fear and your excuses will stop you, right? It's all about getting out of your own way and running with the fear rather than away from it, because the fear will stop us from so many different things in our lives. So many different things in our lives. And you don't want to regret it. You don't want to regret it, and you don't want to, have it be your last day on earth. I actually heard this quote today, and I'm not sure who said it, but it's not mine. But the quote was the hell on earth would be you being your last day on earth and meeting the person that you would have become. meeting the person that you would have become. And it kind of, it stopped me in my tracks because it's so true. We all want to build this legacy. We all have these dreams. We all have these realities that we want to set forth, right? That's we all visualize of the world that we want to live in, of the legacy that we want to create, of the impact we want others to encapsulate, of the chapters we want people to embody. But the fear is always the one that's going to stick unless we change it, unless we break the pattern of I'm going to run with the fear rather than away from it. And I'm not going to make an excuse for my book. I'm going to write it because it's my dream to become a published author, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to do it because I'm unstoppable and I'm determined and I'm resilient and I'm persevering, and I'm going to do it. Doesn't matter. Time is not an issue. The only thing standing in your way is yourself, right? And I say time is not an issue because we always have the time. Things happen for us, not to us. Especially right now in the pandemic, so many, and I've spoken about this before, so many people always say that they've never had the time to do anything. They've never had the time to write their book. They've never had the time to finish their manuscript. They've never had the time to open their own business, even though they've dreamt about becoming an entrepreneur. Well, guess what, guys? Now you have the time. It's what you do with it makes a world of difference, right? You've said you don't have the time before. Well, guess what? God has given you the gift of time. You said you don't have the time to to write your book, to finish your manuscript. I know people that has stayed stagnant in their manuscript, has not been able to pass their 4th chapter for 10 years. 10 years. I have another one that has been going on 8 years and has never passed the introduction. And when I talk to them about it, and when I talk to them and I'm like, why haven't you been able to finish your book? And they say, I didn't have time, Liz. I didn't have time to do it. But we can always find the time. We can always find the time. That was one of the excuses that I made for myself, but I wrote most of my published memoir in the middle of the night, right? Because I was like, okay, so I have meetings, I have kids, I have a family, and I always said, I'm like, I don't have time to finish my book. I don't have time to do this during the day. I don't have time. Well, I made the time. After everybody was sleeping, I went and I focused on my dream. I focused on having my published memoir in my hands, right? I had a vision for it, and I knew that I could help a lot of women, and so the vision stuck. So when your vision is so strong, you'll find the time to do it. I found the time to do it in the middle of the night. After everybody was sleeping, I cracked open my iPad, my laptop, my notes, and I wrote a chapter in the middle of the night. I made a goal to write at least a half a chapter in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, within 2 years, it was gone. And within 2 years, I was ready to go. It could have took longer, but there's a couple other issues, right? A couple other kind of, theoretical issues that happened, but it took almost 2 years to have the book from start to finish because I made the time to. Right? So there are no excuses in life. There are no excuses in what we choose to do and in our vision, in our reality. There are no excuses. The only excuse standing in the way of yourself is yourself, right? You're the only one making the excuses, but you're only making excuses because of fear. That's the only reason why you would be making excuses, because no, you can tell me till you're blue in the face why you don't have time, but we all know, and be truthful to yourselves, that you actually do have the time to do it. It's whether your vision is so strong, it's whether your vision is strong enough to do things in spite of your fear, to do it in spite of your excuses. How strong is your vision? I ask my clients all the time, how determined are you to be the entrepreneur? To write your book, to become a published author? How strong are you, or how determined are you? Are you determined until a pivotal point in your life when things get too hard, and then all of a sudden you make the excuses? You make the excuses that it's like, okay, I have no time, or maybe I'm not meant to do this. Because we can be anything that we want. Our dreams can become reality if we choose to. But it's all determined on the determination that you have within yourself. And that determination is determined based on how strong your vision is, how strong your dream is. Because we can all talk about dreams. We dream till we're blue in the face all the time. But if our dream is not strong enough, then we're going to give up before we even start. So if you are ready to become a published author, no fear and no excuses. Best advice that I can really give you. No fear and no excuses. Right? And this brings me to my next topic, which is open for expansion. And what do I mean by that? So we're letting go of our BS stories. We're letting go of the old stories that we tell ourselves. We're letting go of the fears, right? We have no fears, we have no excuses. So when we have no fears, we have no excuses, and we can let go of the BS stories that we tell ourselves, that we constantly tell ourselves, then we have an open for expansion. That means owning your truth, embodying every single part of you that happened and that hasn't happened yet. The embodiment of it all. There's 5 pivotal pieces to embodiment. Is body, mind, spirit, heart, and soul. And so when you're writing a book and when you're when you're on the way to becoming a published author, there's so many chapters that you, especially when it comes to your own memoir, right? There's so many chapters, there's so many pieces to the puzzle that you need to fill in the gaps. And in order to fill in the gaps, you need to bring yourself back into those moments. You need to bring yourself back into those moments, the way you breathe, the way you felt, the way, maybe you're envisioning what you wore that day, right? And who you were with, the type of person that you were, the characteristics that you portrayed. So you need to bring yourself back into those moments. And some of them are, of course, if it's a memoir of heartbreak, of growth, of evolvement, of personal development. Some of them is like, some of those experiences you lock back into your subconscious and you don't want to think about them whatsoever. They're locked, and there's a whole bunch of rocks and debris and all the crap that is tackling it, maybe a billion locks, a padlocks, whatever the case may be. It's one that you're like, no, that I will never think about those again, because it could be all a bit about hurt and your anxiety and your negative emotions that you don't want to tackle again. But in order to own your truth, you have to own every single part of you. And so you have to be open to expansion. Come from a heart-centered place and be like, you know what? I'm writing this memoir, and I want to be as real as I can. And even writing a memoir is showing your utmost vulnerability. And in order to do that, you have to have an open heart for expansion. To be able to be like, I am opening these doors to these experiences because I really, really want the reader to be put in my shoes, so that they can remember they can participate in a very, very real and authentic way what I went through. And so your openness for expansion includes, forgiveness of yourself and others. It includes, all these emotions that you may not want to encompass again, but in all reality you need to, and why do you need to? Because in order for you to really truly forgive, in order for you to really close that chapter, close that piece in your book, literally, those pieces need to be brought out into the open. And just to give you an example, when I wrote my published memoir, there's so many pieces that I locked up, that they were part of that cave of an openness, the hidden cave where no one can ever find it, right? It was there and guarded by locks and padlocks and whatever. But in order for my readers to really understand my truth, to really understand my vulnerability, my realism, my authenticity, I needed to bring those pieces back out. I needed to take them, and I needed to find them and lock them back and unlock that openness. And I needed to be willing to receive. And at the same time, and in order to do this at the same time, you have to, I spoke about forgiveness, but you also have to you put it in prayer, right? Put it in prayer. That's what I did. I left those pieces up to God, and I said, I'm allowing my heart to expand, to relive some of these moments. Please watch over them and protect them. And once they're gone, and once I've written them, and once I became real with them again, then keep them away as memories, as a chapter that closed in my book and never to be really opened again, because I've grown and I've evolved because of them, right? And so opening yourself for expansion is just that. It's owning your truth. It's owning your truth. It's being real with who you are and embodying every single part of it. Because even though those experiences may not be that great in your eyes, guess what? You're here. You're healthy. You're free from them, and now you can help others because of it, right? But they can't be gone for good, because you need to embody it. Because in order for you to really put it out there and really show up for your story, you have to embody the good and the bad and the ugly pieces. You embody everything, because everything is part of your heart, everything is part of your soul. There are experiences that you needed to live, there are experiences that you needed to grow. It's a journey that you needed to encompass in order to really, really appreciate your life as how it is. And they become powerful, pivotal pieces that include breakthroughs, that include a willingness to receive. It becomes these moments become pivotal pieces in your journey that people need to hear. Right? So owning your truth is so powerful. And I'm not just talking about, okay, yeah, I can own my truth, I can own the great pieces, but you need to own the good, the bad, and ugly, and not be ashamed of them. Because a lot of people when they write their books, and especially with published memoirs, or even when you're a compilation in, say, a women empowerment book or something along those lines, so many people kind of back out because they've allowed their fear to stack on top of these pivotal moments, because you're like, oh no one can hear these. These are crazy. Like these are some of my shameful moments. They're not my greatest moments. But guess what? When you can embody every single piece of you, then every person in your outer world will embody every single piece of you. But it starts with you first. That's where self-leadership comes into play. When you can lead yourself through these moments, and you're like, you know what, friggin', I was an overcomer because of these moments. This is what I learned through my journey. This is how I evolved. This is how I grew. Then you're able to lead people through it. Right? You light the candle, and everybody else follows. You light the candle through the darkness, and everybody else follows. Right? You lead yourself through it first. So it's super important. And of course, I kind of, brought in the other topic, which is embodiment, right? Which is the embodiment component. Embodying every single piece of you. Because you're not living your journeys, you're not living your experiences just from the luck of the draw. You're living them because you're meant to live them. Remember, life is happening for us and not to us. And so when we can remember that and we can embrace that wholeheartedly, then we'll understand that that every single piece of our life, every single chapter that we're going through, every single moment of celebration, every single moment of gratitude, every single moment of appreciation, of heartbreak, of struggles, of trials, of tribulation, every single moment needs to be embodied, because you are learning a piece that needs to bridge the gap somehow. It's another puzzle piece in the puzzle of life, right? All of these pieces end up fitting together, and there's going to be some pieces that are just, that just might not fit, but eventually they will. You just have to find the right moment when they do. And it starts with a full, complete embodiment of your body, your heart, your mind, your spirit, and your soul. 5 pivotal pieces. Some may argue that it's body, mind, and spirit, but which is true. However, I've included the heart and soul because I believe that it's all separate entities that we need to come together. They encapsulate each and every single one. Each and every one connects with each other. They are the pieces that you need for the puzzle. And in order to, write the book, to show your authenticity, to show your vulnerability, to show that you're the creator of, or you're the master of your own life, then it starts with the embodiment of every single piece of yourself, because one piece cannot work by itself. You need everything. So when you can ensure yourself of that, and you can be like, you know what, I embody my body, I embody my mindset, I am able to shift my mindset, I'm able to come from a heart-centered place. I realize that God has taken me out of these chapters in order to help other people, and I'm a spiritual being living a human experience, and every single piece of that becomes such a magnetizing component of your book. Even if it's something as, and I'm not going to say it's really simple, but even something such as a recipe book. If you have a vision of writing a recipe book, you give your entire embodiment of yourself in it, right? They could be recipes that were passed down from ancestors. They could be recipes that are passed down from generations of people, and you want to share it with people because it includes your entire body, mind, heart, spirit, and soul, right? And even if it's a poetry book, you put your mind, you put your heart, you put every single thing. You've gone all into the poetry that you write because you have a passion for it, you have a purpose for it. Right? Every single piece of our lives is embodiment. Our passion comes through embodiment because we've embodied exactly who we are. And our purpose comes through because we've embodied exactly, right? And it becomes a beautiful thing. Right? It becomes a beautiful thing for the people that need to read your book. It becomes a beautiful thing for the people that you're going to impact with your message. It becomes a beautiful and magnifying thing. And the one piece, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the 5 pieces, right? In order that I've gone through in order to publish my memoir, in order to be part of the compilations. Now I came up with a bit of a bonus one because I actually noticed it today, right? I spoke with a client today, and she asked me a question, and so I wanted to kind of bring it out, and she goes, and so the bonus piece is, I entitled it No Timeline, because here's the thing, when you're becoming a published author, it's not a get rich quick scheme, right? And specifically she told me, and she's like, I want to write a book. I've dreamt of writing my book, right? But all of the cost and all of the effort and all of the energy that is put into it, what if you don't make it? Right? What if you don't make it? And or what if you don't make them back the money that you put into it? And this is what I told her. I said, there is no timeline to writing a book. There isn't. You have a goal, which is awesome. You have a goal to write your to publish your book. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's a few years, maybe you don't even have a goal. It's great if you do have a goal, by the way, because then you have something to look forward to, and you have something to really, push yourself out there, right? To really show up for your story. You have a goal to do that. And so, but once your book is out there, then that is dependent on you and you alone in order to really put it out there. So what does that mean? There, like as I said, there's no timeline. There's no timeline. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It really dives down into a couple of things in the belief of your own self, right? You believe your book is great. You believe that people need to hear it, that your story matters, and that you know that you can create an impact with your book. You believe that wholeheartedly. So you're so in love with your story. You're so in love with the pieces that encapsulate your entire journey. And the other piece is, is people, like, it's a longevity component, right? It's longevity, like promoting your book and really owning your truth and being who you are when you're going through your book, showing up for your story, right? So a lot of introverts such as myself have a lot of trouble going live, and it tends to be scary and kind of freaky for a lot of people, right? Fear of judgment comes into play there a little bit, but we'll talk about that at a later time. So it basically comes down to showing up completely for your story. And if you believe your story is empowering, if you believe your story needs to be shared, if you have a message within yourself to share with the world, or with your niche, with your target market, whoever that may be, if you believe in it so much, then you're not going to worry about the timeline. Because even though yes, it does take time and energy, and time is the most precious commodity that we have, there's no price with time, right? Time is priceless. And so even though it takes time, even though you're using your blood, sweat, and tears, even though it does take effort, and yes, even though it does take a financial commitment, when you know your story is that powerful, that it's going to create a significant mark in the world, and it's going to create a significant impact in those that need to hear it, then you're not going to worry about getting your money back, or the financial commitment that you spent. You're not going to worry about getting your time back. You're not going to worry about any of it. That's why there's no timeline when it comes to writing your book and getting it out there. Because it's such a piece of you that really, once it's out there, and it's hard feeling to describe, right? But once it's out there, it's like, you've led yourself through everything. You've embodied every single piece of you, and it's out there, and the right people are going to find your book. The right people are going to purchase your book, and they're going to get impacted by it. It's going to inspire them to make a change or to receive a transformation or breakthrough. How can you put a price on that? How can you put a timeline on that? So, as I said, there's a great pieces. There's a great thing to be had when you can put a timeline, a goal, on when you want your book to be finished. But once it's out there, I don't believe that there should be a timeline on it, because it's up to you, right? It's up to you to promote your book, to go live about your story, to share your message, to share pieces of the book with other people, so that it's like, you know what, you like my message today, well, guess what, I have my book for sale, or you promote your book on another medium. But as I said, this is not a get rich quick scheme, and if you believe that it is, I encourage you to go through some other self-reflection and really embody other pieces of you, right? Really embody other pieces of you, so that you can understand that your book is out there. You're already a published author, so congratulations, and now the excitement just continues going, and the ripple effect just continues going, right? So guys, I hope this helps, especially when you have a dream of becoming an author. And I hope it kind of, it sheds light on things that the missing pieces that you were not sure of. Like maybe you're in step 2, maybe you have a fear, maybe you've had an excuse, maybe you have trouble letting go of some of the pieces to your old story. Maybe you need to own your truth a bit better. Whatever the case may be, just know that your story is worth it and that your story matters. And I know that might be cliche because a lot of people say that, but if you believe it, then it becomes a beautiful incantation for yourself that yes, my story matters and people need to hear my message, and I have a message to share. So if you can believe that, then you'll jump into that 1% of people that actually write their book and that actually, accomplish it from start to finish, and not just half-ass their way through it, or not be like, okay, well, I just want this book out there, or it's too much time and effort and money. The excuses will no longer be around. So if you like this video, share with your friends, share with any other potential authors, share with people that have dreamed about becoming an author, right? Share within your network. Like the video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the little bell so you can receive my notifications of when I go live next. I go live every single day, and that would be so awesome. So thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for being here, and let's get that book up and ready to go. So I'm in your circle. So you guys are awesome. Have an amazing day. God bless you. Stay empowered, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.